Previously, we overcame the mighty +2 and somehow managed to time it with 9 minutes remaining, which means we're going straight into a +4 now, right? Well, not exactly. Turns out, if you don't use your highest key during the same week, it doesn't just sit in your bags, it goes into the abyss, which means we are back to a +2. On a good note, it was once again time, which blessed us with a hero track helmet, pushing us all the way to 229. Surely now I'm stronger and more knowledgeable than ever, so no matter which dungeon we get, it will be a walk in the park. Nexus point Xenas. Right off the bat, I noticed our healer was only item level 209. It's fine, I thought. All healers are broken anyway. Then a 163 item level hunter signed up. And of course, I took him. Shortly after, another hunter wanted to join, and I figured I'd let them compete with each other. And a mage later, we had ourselves a group. As usual, I warned everyone I was a new tank, mostly so they would feel bad blaming me if we wiped. One of the hunters then mentioned he was completely new to the game and couldn't even find the dungeon entrance. We summoned him. A few seconds later he asked, "Wait, this is Mythic?" Things were looking promising. The very first pull is always the one that scares me the most. The Skyreach incident was still fresh in my mind. Wait, I used that joke last week. Whatever. Anyway. Thankfully, one of you left me a really helpful comment after one of my previous videos. Apparently, I was constantly sitting at full rage instead of spending it on ignore pain. So this run I actually listened, and you were absolutely right. I started pressing ignore pain way more often, and the difference was immediately noticeable. This is probably my least favorite dungeon in the current rotation. It's one of the newer ones, which means Blizzard decided every trash pack should have its own unique way of making my life miserable. Exploding barrows, poison everywhere, so much purple. Just look at this, what a mess. We missed one barrow and almost the entire group exploded. And after the DPS failing to do what the D in the name stands for and dying, Mr. Yakuza decided it was the healer's fault. This guy really is a gangster. I quickly explained we had to focus the barrows, while standing in poison, just casually making my healer work overtime. In my defense, typing with 9 functioning fingers is hard. After making this explanation, I situated myself as a good leader and immediately died the next pull, which made me lose all my aura I had just gained. By the time I finished my walk of shame back to my group, they had pretty much dealt with everything themselves. Maybe they didn't need me after all. After a few more painful pulls, we finally reached Kasareth. Kasareth was one of the bosses I actually remembered. I knew the arena was about to become a complete mess with lasers and purple puddles everywhere, so my only goal was to keep him somewhere that wouldn't completely ruin the fight for everyone else. Lasers started splitting the room into a pizza shape. Maybe I'm just hungry. Surprisingly, everything was going pretty well, until it wasn't. Mr. Yakuza died and the arena got quickly filled up with the boss's purple goo, and our room was running out. Just as I was beginning to worry, we managed to take him down. With the left side cleared, we moved to the right, which introduced these little slimes. Cute little guys, unless they reached Sleeping Dreadful. Then, they're significantly less cute. As a professional tank now, I spotted an opportunity to skip 2 packs and went for it. Someone pulled them anyway. So instead of skipping 2 packs, we pulled everything. This was also the first time I'd seen a healer actually run out of mana. Apparently, that's something shaman healers do. Good to know, preferably before the next pull. Eventually, we reached Core Warden Nysarra. This boss was considerably scarier than the first, in terms of damage. He kept spawning ads all over the place, and with the single button rotation it was a bit tricky to collect the mob since it didn't always prioritize an AoE spell, so I had to reach with my mouse to click it. And with me somehow being second on the damage meter, things weren't exactly going to plan. This boss was not pulling its punches, it was hitting very hard. Left hook, right hook. There was one moment where I was absolutely convinced I was dead. Thankfully, our shaman managed to clutch up. That guy was quietly carrying the key on his back. Looking back, this was probably the first boss that genuinely felt dangerous out of all of the bosses I've fought as a tank. Other than the damage that the boss was constantly dealing to me, nothing was too complicated, and we took her down. 7 minutes left. Last week we'd already finished the entire dungeon by this point. This week, we were barely reaching the final wing. I was beginning to understand why people didn't queue as a tank. We made our way to the bridge, where we wasted precious seconds due to forgetting that the console needs to be clicked to activate the bridge. This was the final push, the bridge that separated us from either success or misery once again. I began making a bit bigger push since we had no time left, and due to that the mobs got separated all over the place. I was getting sloppy due to time pressure, which resulted in me getting hit by spells I could easily dodge, and I was losing precious seconds because of it. I was so focused on the time aspect that I completely forgot about the other important part of a Mythic Plus dungeon. The enemy forces. I was totally winging it the whole time, as usual, so it was up to fate if we could reach 100%. And at 98%, the last mob I was going to pull for the dungeon, it was exactly on point. I guess those extra mobs I was tilted about earlier were necessary, and Yakuza just knew that. 2.5 minutes. One boss. I still believed. The Thraxian who got corrupted by the light wasn't too bad. He spawned copies of himself that dashed around the place and just don't get hit, I guess. The difficult part was fighting the one clone without horns every time he cast Divine Glide. Every cast turned into a game of Where's Wally. I was completely locked in, eyes glued to the monitor, searching every single clone. This guy was also pretty strong damage-wise, and he was definitely making my healer work for it. Every second counted, every bit of damage, and lack thereof. And with 30 seconds remaining, he casted that annoying spell again, forcing me into a gamer pose once more. Unfortunately, the hunter was not locked in enough, and tried his luck with a horny version of the boss, which resulted in his immediate death, and with 20 seconds remaining, our inevitable failure. Deep down, I already knew. Even if everyone survived, this key wasn't getting timed. At least I walked away with a shiny new shield. Having tanked now 5 dungeons, I was barely making any progress. The +2 key is like some sort of a curse. Even some people in the comments have started cooking me. Guys, I am new to the game, but I'm not that bad, okay? I promise you, it's just bad luck, okay? It's just bad luck. Trust me on this one. At this point, I'm gonna be soloing the dungeons with all the item upgrades I'm getting. And if that's what it takes, so be it. Thanks for watching, and hopefully next time we will break the curse.